What's up, everybody? I'm Miss Jessie.
And I'm Miss Mariah, and you're about to learn some spooky, amazing things.
Today we are going to have just a fun little mukbang. We have some fun little Halloween treats here that we're going to be partaking in. All sorts of candies in here, not sponsored. And then we are going to be talking about some of our spookiest personal stories. So be prepared to leave comments in the section down below so that we can feature your comment and your question in one of our videos.
I don't have a lot of spooky stories. I have a lot of funny or bizarre stories. Full story. So we're teaching classes once upon a time in another studio. And as we're doing our thing, a friend of mine is like, hey, what's that on the wall? And we, of course, focus our attention onto what was on the wall, and there's this little brown thing hanging, just chilling up on the wall. And we get closer and realize there is a bat clinging to the side of the wall. And it's just hanging out. Of course, it's evening time, so he's probably getting ready to wake up. And so we're like, oh, it's a bat. So I do my normal thing with critters. I do it all the time. We get like wasps in here, and I put them in a container and slide a piece of paper underneath, and then take them outside. So we put a bucket on it and then slid something, I don't remember what it was, through it to do the same thing. And then we went out, put it on the back porch, and then just closed the door and waited for it to leave, which it did. And then we went and retrieved our bucket.
We had a bat experience. We went to this summer vacation, and we went to this lake, and they had this condo there. My whole family on my mom's side stayed in that condo. And it was like sometime in the night, all of a sudden, we all hear screaming. And we all run upstairs, and we're like, what is happening? And we see this bat flying around my grandma and grandpa's room. And my aunts and uncles are all like, get the bat, take it outside, throw it outside. And
fortunately, ours was just chilling on the wall. He wasn't like flying around.
Yeah.
I have more mice and rat experiences that like too many. I don't like them a lot.
Yeah.
Because old houses, growing up in an old house and then living in an old house, right? Partially remodeled house, always with the mice and the rat. The mice is normal, like you get mice. They come, you do what you can to get them to leave, but rats are persistent. We lived in the city, and so they were city rats. I remember because I was with the rats. I was pregnant, and I would have a hard time sleeping, and so like my little family's asleep, right? And then there's me up watching TV late at night because they can't sleep, sitting on the couch. And then you like see something out of the corner of your eye, and this is a rat, right? So it's not like a little mouse.
It's not like little.
And so you see something out of the corner, it's like in the kitchen, right? And you're like, and then and you're like, it's so scary. We were trying to get rid of him. We had like exterminators that would come, and they'd you put the metal stuff in the holes and then foam it to try to, and they told us, they're like, rats are real persistent because like mice, if you close up the hole, they won't come back, right? Like you make it harder for them, and they're not going to try to keep getting in. But rats are persistent. So if they've gotten in, they will find another area and chew through wood to get back in the house. What we ended up finding out is that our neighbor, we had a shared garage between our two houses, and in our neighbor's garage, he was remodeling that house, and he had a open bag of like grass seed or something that they were nesting in, and then coming to our house, because nobody lived in that house, to try to find food. So anyway, so that ended up being why we had the rats, but it was an old house, so it was so easy for them to like find new places to get in. Another scary part about the rats was that this one time we didn't know we had rats yet. We had like a mouse or two. So we had like some sticky traps out. And then this one night we heard rustling in the kitchen, and one of our dogs was after something. And my husband goes into the kitchen, and where there was like a mouse hole or whatever, there was like a broken spot in one of the floorboards. And he sees the sticky trap sticking out of it, and then the sticky trap goes into the wall, right? And he was like, oh, that's no mouse. And so that was creepy. And then of course we discovered that we had rats, not mice. And then everything else unfolded, and I swear I got like some trauma from the rats, but we did get rid of them eventually.
Oh man, if I saw that happen, just the thing just boom, just back into the wall, I would start thinking I had ghosts living in my house.
Nope, just a big old rat, nasty. I don't like mice, but I could handle the occasional mouse. But yeah, the rats was horrible. It was really, once we got rid of the bird seed, not the bird seed, what am I talking about? Grass seed that they were nesting in. We got rid of that, and then,
less of a problem.
Yeah, pretty much solved the problem. So, too many critter stories to me. Or just even the other night with the mouse, because it's fall, so like we have an older house that's like partially remodeled or in the process of being remodeled, and so when it gets cold out, the critters want to come up under, so spiders, mice, right? And so the last couple weeks we hadn't had in a long time, and then we saw a little mouse in the house, so I got some little traps and stuff and put around. And then the other night I was going to bed, got everybody else to sleep. I went to the bathroom, and this little mouse comes into the bathroom, and I don't think it was expecting to see me because it's like late at night, and it sees me, I see it, and I go, ah! And then the mouse goes, and jumped into the trash can, and then jumped out of the trash can, ran into the kitchen, and then I ran in, and so there's a big period of time between this. The rats was like 6 years ago when we lived in the city. This is our little house here. Where we live now, and so this little mouse jumps in, we scare each other, hops in the trash can, hops out of the trash can, goes in the kitchen. So I went into the kitchen, and I say go in the under the stove, and it comes out, goes back under the stove a couple times. I was like, I could probably trap it in the trash can. So I was being quiet, and sat up on the counter with the trash can, and then while I'm waiting for it to come back out, it actually comes up by the stove and toodles across the counter, and I was like, so I changed gears. I went that way. I was jiggled stuff to get to run back that way, and then trapped it in a bucket, and then then I didn't know what to do because I'm just standing there holding the bucket. I'm like, well, if I walk away, he's gonna escape. So take all the knives out of our knife block thing, because that's heavy. I put it on top of it, and then I'm like, okay, now what are we gonna do? But then I go back to my thing with the trapping them, cut some cardboard out of a box and slide it under the bucket, right? And then my husband wakes up, and he's here's the commotion and stuff. He's like, what are you doing? I was like, trapping mice, apparently. So I have this mouse, and he's like, okay. And he puts on shoes. He's like, I'll help. So he takes it outside. I'm like, what are you gonna do with it? And he's walking across the street. I was like, it's just gonna come back. He's like, do you want to do this? I was like, nope. Carry on. So he went and released it somewhere else.
Oh man. Yeah, I don't have a ton of critter stories. I couldn't imagine. I just have different horror stories, I guess. So I have a horror story that actually involves dolls. Oh, fun fact. We used to be in a haunted house together. Used to work in a haunted house together.
Yes, that's where I met my husband, and then we got married.
Yeah, so we used to work in a haunted house together, and when we worked in that house, I played a doll for my very first year working in the haunted house. And I used the costume from one of our dances forever ago. And
as your doll costume?
As my doll costume, yeah. I had this creepy costume on. I put my hair in these creepy pigtails, and I ratted them up real good. And I had fake porcelain cracks on my face. And It was insane. So that same Halloween where I was pretending to be a doll during the whole haunted house thing, my brothers, they had found a cool artifact on my parents' property. So my parents, you know, I used to have a farm, and we used to find all sorts of crazy things on the farm. Like my brother found a turtle shell, not the turtle, just the shell.
Yeah.
And he kept it forever until it molded. So nasty, it smelled so bad. And then my sister found pig bones, and she used to collect pig bones.
Okay.
And so it was a little farm, and so we used to find like all sorts of crazy things on there. Well, they found this cool little thing on there. I didn't know they found it. And I get home, and I'm trying to get into the house and everything, and then I see this stupid doll. It's broken, it's dirty, it's missing an eye. Like, this thing was nasty, like horror movie type of doll sitting on the kitchen table. And I was like, okay. And I have to just tell you, I've always been so scared of toys coming to life. I was so scared of this stupid doll. And so I was like, okay, throw the doll away. That was my first instinct. Throw the doll away. So it doesn't come back. It doesn't come back. So I grabbed this thing by the foot, and I'm like carrying it out to the outside trash can, and I'm like, goodbye, forever, lid, you know, like bricks. Like, goodbye. And so I was so scared of this stupid thing. Well, I go and I'm done with the doll, and I'm like, it's never coming back. It's dead forever. So then I go off, and like a week goes by, and I come home from dance, and this stupid doll shows up again on my porch.
Did one of your siblings like find it in the trash?
Yes.
And they're like,
this is my treasure. Yes. And so like they put it on the porch. We had this, it was kind of like a shelf. It was like a 3 or 4 tiered shelf that we used to have on our porch. And that's like where we kept like some of our, you know, like random flower
like most
pots.
Porches.
And, yeah. This stupid doll was sitting right there, just facing me. And I get home, and I'm walking towards the door, and I go, ah! I was like, oh, demon doll. Okay, figure this out. So then I grab this stupid doll, and I go and I throw it back in the trash can.
Now you're like, bricks.
Now I'm like, okay, this thing needs to die. So I take the stupid trash can, and I move it all the way down the driveway. And we had this big old long gravel driveway, and like it would go all the way down the road. So it was a ways to walk. I took that thing all the way down there. I took it all the way down there, and I put it right by the curb, and I was like, goodbye. Like, I'm done. No more. So then I started walking back up to the house. I went and got to bed, and then a few days passed by. I come home from dance, and this stupid doll was in my bedroom. Oh, it was in my bedroom. So I get home.
Assuming this is your sister doing this, since you shared a room with her.
It was my brothers.
Oh, were they doing it on purpose?
They were doing it on purpose because they knew I hated dolls.
Ah,
I hated dolls. Like when I was a kid, like I loved a small handful of dolls that I loved playing with. But since I mostly played with my brothers, like we tortured dolls a lot, you know, which was probably not good, but like we did. And we would just torture dolls a lot. And so I thought when this stupid doll came back to life the third time and ended up crawling into my bed, I thought that this doll was out to get me and that it knew all of my secrets and that it knew like everything that I had ever done to every doll ever, and it was coming for me. Something you gotta know about my family is like we are so into like ghost stories, Halloween, like we're so into the paranormal. And so we used to watch like Ghost Hunters when we were kids. We used to watch like all these crazy haunted shows. And like we used to be like, is that a ghost? is that a real ghost? Is it a real ghost? You know, and like, we would just do that all the time. And like, that was our entertainment when we were kids. Like, we would reenact like the craziest like ghost stories, craziest witch trials, like craziest Halloween things, because we were so into the spooky stuff. Like, every spooky thing ever. We loved it all. I just thought that this doll was coming back from the dead to get me, because I thought from that point on that all dolls came to life and you didn't know. You know, like, I thought every doll was Chucky at that point. I was so terrified of dolls. And so my brothers, they finally confessed what they were doing. They were like, "Oh, we were just teasing you, and like, we just wanted to get you back." And I was like, oh man, I am going to be terrified of dolls for the rest of my life. And now to this day, like, my kids have my old dolls. I've kept my old dolls in a trunk and locked for years.
Just in case.
Just in case, because I don't want them coming back to life and getting me. Like, dolls are terrifying. And so, like, I have a few of my dolls from when I was a kid, like, that I loved. Like, I had an American Girl doll, and I had like this little baby Pioneer baby doll that I got from forever ago from my grandma, which was super sentimental, you know. So like, I kept that one.
Yeah, special one.
Special. So like, my special ones I loved and I still love. However,
they're in a trunk. Locked.
They were in a trunk. So I got them out to give to my kids, because my kids are like getting interested in like more things, you know. And I was like,
girl now, so
yeah, and I have a girl now, so you know, I was like, hey, like, why don't I get my old dolls out? And then, you know, like, granted, she's a baby right now, but still, like, she'll grow up and like, at least those dolls will be like there for her, you know, I guess. My boys decided that they were gonna scraggle these dolls up, make them look real pretty, like
fancy
crayons on the face, and like their hair's like, you know, like one of them's missing an arm now. They ripped the head and one of the arms off my baby doll, and I'm just like, dang, these poor dolls. I have them still. They're way broken, but now since they look the way they do, it brings me back to that one doll that was sitting all creepy like in my old house on the farm. And now when I go to like shut the door like in my kids' room, because I have these dolls sitting in the kids' room, and like when I go to shut the kids' room door, I'm just like like checking the doll, make sure it ain't home alive, you know. So dolls are my one thing that I'm just like, whoa,
freaked out by.
Nope.
See, I don't particularly like horror stuff. I like creepy stuff, but not like horror stuff at all. And I never really have been much of that sort of scary stuff. It's probably because of my brothers who terrorized me when I was a kid and scared me with movies and stuff and I just never, I don't like, and it's been like, because like as a teenager, like with my mom, I tried, like I was like, okay, well, sure, we'll watch a scary movie, right? But I was like, no, can't do it. But yeah, so it's not really my thing, but I do like the creepy, like and the fun Halloween movies. I like the fun Halloween movies, and I like the creepy but not like super scary ones. And then of course now having kids, there's this thing and I was talking to my friend the other day about it, because she was saying like she had like cousins of her kids that did the same thing to her kid, right? But my oldest, when she was younger, maybe like 6, she's got cousins that are just 2 years older than her, and twins. And they used to try to convince her of stuff. Like they'd be like, so, and like with the dolls, like when you're not around, the dolls come to life, right? And, or like if you leave and then come back in the room, you'll notice like its head is turned, right? Or like something like that. And she's little, right? And so they're telling her, and I had porcelain dolls, like the pretty ones. They're like,
oh, those are terrifying.
I had 2 of those, that I had from when I was a kid. Like they were in my room and stuff. They were a gift from
way pretty.
And yeah, so I had a couple of those that were like up in the closet. And when you're not looking, those dolls are like. And so, right. And so then there was like a period of time when she wouldn't go in certain rooms in our house. And I'm like, what is your deal? And then she's like, well, and I was like, oh.
My family, they love everything Halloween. Like we love spooky, we love scary, we love jump scares. Like
well, I do to a point.
Yeah.
Like anything that's like horror. Mm-mm. Like but
For me,
but
it's
the
the
scary
type
where it's
of
like
horror.
the little bit of like jumpy, like sort of the gory or the demonic or anything like that.
Right.
But like the spooky, creepy, old fashioned, like,
Yeah.
we've brought you all here tonight to decide who the killer is.
Right.
Everybody randomly dies off.
Right. One of those old mystery
Old
stories
mystery
where
detectives.
like, everybody, we're going to solve the mystery. And then everybody just starts
We've
dying.
trapped you in this haunted house.
Right,
Just so that the
exactly. So like, as far as stuff like that goes, like I like horror movies, I like, scary stuff, but I am not into demon stuff. It's not my thing.
Yeah,
I don't like
100% agree.
excessive killing. That's just unnecessary. No story.
Yeah.
Because everybody's just dying and you're like, I don't get it.
Well, and even like since having kids, like we're pretty picky about what's watched in our house, and
Right.
so like my husband gets excited and he's like, "Ooh, like the kids are in bed, like we're gonna watch like a PG-13 movie,
Scary movie.
Yay!" But like as a teenager, right? Like that's why I was telling you, like as a teenager, I tried some of like the scarier stuff with my mom. Like we would, and I was like, no, I just don't like it. But my brother and I watched a scary movie, but it was a little more past my comfort zone. Like it was a little more on the scary side, and we watched it, and then he goes to bed, and so we grew up in like 2-story house, right? And so most bedrooms are upstairs, and I was still downstairs. So he goes off to bed, and then also house phones, right? So we have house phones. I didn't have a cell phone, but my brother did, and he, like a little, like a flip phone.
Landline.
Yeah. Right? So he goes to bed and calls our house phone, right, from upstairs. He's like, "Hey, could you come turn off the light for me? Because I don't want to get back out of bed." I was like, "Are you kidding me? You're like 2 years older than me." Marsha, you're welcome. Good night. And see, that's why I like some of those like creepy ones that there's not like gore or anything demonic or anything, but it is still very like, ooh, like, what's gonna happen?
Ooh, that's scary still. Yeah. So this movie terrifies my grandma, and I can understand why, because I had this weird experience. So I drove to a nearby city, and I was in a drive-through at a fast food restaurant, and I was trying to get some food for my kids and and I looked up, and like the sky all of a sudden went from like blue to gray in a matter of seconds. I was still in the drive-through for all of this. Like there was a line and stuff, so like it took a little while, but I mean, I was in the drive-through for all of it. Like the sky went from blue to gray in a matter of seconds. And then I looked up, and there was nothing but birds all along the entire power line. And I was like, it was so scary. And then there was one point where it was lightning, and then there was the thunder, and like, this is part of my sound effects, I guess, but that rattled the birds. And so all the birds, they were literally, so this is one of those like 3-tiered power lines that has cord, birds on all of them. It was packed with birds, okay? And it wasn't just that one area. It was all the way down for the whole power line all the way around. And so this whole thing packed with birds. And I'm sitting here looking at it like, what in the world? And this thunder rattled the birds. They all started swarming. Ooh. They all went whoosh and started swarming above the gas station across the street. And I was like, oh no, like we're all gonna get attacked by birds. Like I was so scared. And you're sitting there like, that one was intense.
I thought you were gonna say, when you said you're like at the drive-thru, like one flew in your car or something.
No,
that would be the worst.
No, I was so terrified, and like I was sitting there like, what in the world? Like, why are all these
the windows?
Yeah, that's what I did. Like, I was sitting there like, okay, kids, just sit tight, like rolling the windows up slowly. Because it went from like a really nice day to all of a sudden, and it was just gray skies and thunder and lightning and birds everywhere. And I was like, it was so scary. And so I've had horror experiences like that. A lot of them like that. There's, yeah.
It's the spooky, just randomly something spooky.
Yeah, random things follow me.
I thought of something. The phone thing, when we were talking about like a long time ago when everybody had landlines and there were fewer cell phones. And the cell phones that did exist were, yeah, because I remember like my mom's first one was like one of those like, it was like flat and like about like that big. It had like the buttons on it and a teeny little gray screen.
Yep.
With my oldest, we've done like homeschooling and then public, like we've done both. So during one of our homeschooling years, we had this lesson, right? And the program that we were using was, I think we saw on one of them, it was like earlier 2000s, like their curriculum. So it was a little bit outdated, but still, you know, like normal math, social studies, all that stuff. But so we're going through a lesson and it was like social studies and it was like talking about, you know, past event or whatever. And then it said, you know, a part of it, it said to ask your study guide to help you look through a phone book, right? This is what it, and she goes, Mom, what's a phone book? And I was like, oh, right.
Oh man.
So phone books. How do I describe this? Okay, so then I end up having to give her a whole spiel of what life was like, you know, and I'm like, okay, so
back in my day,
before you called a person, you called a household, and you couldn't just, or this is like pre-Google too, right? So you don't just like look things up, right? So there were phone books, and in that phone book, say we want to call your friend, schedule a play date, we would be like, oh, what's her name? First name, last name. Okay, where does she live? We're gonna look it up, right? Okay, so there may be multiple people with that name, then you find where they live, you know, narrow it down, and then call that number, right? So we had to have a lesson on what phone books were beforehand. So I was like, oh yeah, when did they put this together? Because a little outdated. I have one here at the studio, right? So she was like, oh, that's what that book is up at the studio that's been sitting under the desk untouched, right?
And we're gonna go ahead and we're going to do a fun contemporary dance. We'll just show you the behind the scenes for now, and then at the end of the month, we'll put it all together with costumes and show you the whole thing. Let's get to it. So the first 8 count is freestyle of just flow. Like whatever. A little bit, yeah. So just freestyle of like flowing, just random movements and slow motioning and something along those lines. How long? It's 1 8 count. So, and then the second 8 count is when we join together our roots. There you go. So, flowing movements, first 8 counts. 7, 8. We're gonna go up, down. We're gonna go here, and then here. Oh. Yeah, when you go here, you go here and back. 6, 7, 8, we go 1, 2, 3, here, and back. Yep. Okay, now, let's just try that one again. 5, 6, 7, 8. Here we just went boom, here, around, and down. Okay. Yep. Back. Grab, step around, and boom. 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You go up and here and down. Yep. And this this part, you just go open. Yep. So you're down, and you go open. Like I said, you can pause it so we can just go over this part. So it's yeah.
I was fine here. And then we're
Alright, night
here.
There's
Flex
in my head. Oh, I fear. And you're just using your arm to give you momentum right there. So I go here and around.
Okay.
I bring it up
Like as
and
you
around. Yeah.
Okay. So you're here.
Nightmares in my head. I fear. Yep.
Okay.
Yep. I got nightmares in my head. I fear.
I'm really trying to flex my foot. Okay. In my head, I fear.
Yep.
We're pointing
I
right.
fear. I'm like right on tape. That hurts. All right. So in my head, I fear. 6, 7, 8, 10.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Here, spin, you run forward, da, 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 da. Yep, I go here, and then we both go 1, 2, 3. So he says, build up into my mind till I can't hear. So this is on the here.
Okay, so I'm here.
Yep, build up until my mind till I can't hear, and then
I
we
go
will
to the ground.
spin to the ground from there. Okay, so you're already partly here, so you would just spin from there.
Right.
And then that's when we go here, here, here. 7, 8, boom, boom,
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
And then you're going to butt roll this way, and I'm gonna go whoa, or whatever.
You
with
can
my
barrel
legs
roll.
broken. Yeah, I'm gonna do a
How do I
stag.
Am I gonna like cross over?
Yeah. You just butt roll and then stand.
Okay.
So, and then we should both be up by deeper.
Okay.
And then when it says deeper, we go in.
Okay.
So I'm rolling. Yep, I go stag and in. I'm gonna go boom.
Yeah, that was good.
Yeah, that was much better. It's okay, that's all this one's about. It's behind the scenes.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear.
Can I play it?
And pause.
Just kidding.
I got nightmares in my head, I fear. Thoughts build up until I can't hear. That my mind fills up into a creature, and it haunts me somewhere much deeper.
I didn't eat any candy. Well, she was eating candy. Well, I didn't know candy. I got to eat candy. I got to eat a couple of pieces. But that's the problem, is when you put it in your mouth and you're trying to talk.
And it's like you can hear all the chewing noises. I already know people in comments are gonna be like, I hate the chewing noises.
But some people like it. My oldest daughter, she, this past summer, with her friends, they bought these bowls of ramen noodles. And they're like, we're doing this thing. I don't even know what it is. It's a thing on YouTube. You'll eat food, right? Really close, and then they record the sounds. So they're in the kitchen with these bowls of ramen noodles, and they're scrutinizing them. Well, they're eating them slowly, and they're talking about, this is spicy, but it's not too spicy. This says it's a 4, but it's a 1. And they're like, oh yeah, right? I'm I was like, what are you guys doing? It was super funny.
That's funny.
But they were recreating some sort of YouTube videos. And I guess people do that. I don't know.
It's called ASMR.
Okay, yeah, that's it. They're
That's
we're
called
making
ASMR.
ASMR videos, Mom.
Yeah.
It's Okay.
Yeah, like some people
I
for
am not
ASMR,
hip.
like they do like
Mm-hmm.